In this video, I have the all-new Artisan 01 CNC Router machine by WizMaker. I was able to get my hands on a pre-release version, and in this video, we're gonna check out the machine, the special features that make it unique on today's market, and then bring it all together by creating a couple projects. And then at the end of the video, I'm gonna offer my thoughts on my experience with the machine. All that coming up in this video. I'm going to start by saying that I've got this video marked as paid promotion. I'm not actually being paid to produce this video, but in full transparency, I did receive this machine for free. I don't have to say or do anything specific. I'm not here to sell you a machine. Instead, I just enjoy creating these videos and sharing my experiences with all of you to hopefully gain some more insights about the machines, what they look like, and what they look like while they're making a project. And then I leave it up to you if this is going to be a good fit for you. We're going to see that I already had the box open, and that's because I'm really excited about CNC machines. I think it's the next step after we get really comfortable with laser machines. A CNC router machine can do a lot of things that laser machines can't do, and these things are becoming increasingly popular. So off camera, I did take a sneak peek. I think we're in for a really good treat. So with that, we're going to get started with a question that I have for all of you, and that is, why do birds fly in a V? I'll have the answer coming up later on in this video. And with that, let's dig into this box and check out the Artisan 01. The Artisan 01 is the first CNC router offered by WizMaker, and it really looks like they did their research because this thing is made from some really good components, usually found on much more expensive machines. We'll check those out in just a minute. Packaging is top-notch with many blocks of foam to protect the machine and pockets for smaller bits and pieces. The first thing to really note is this is mostly pre-assembled, a very nice feature for a machine at this price point. Only fitment of the gantry and the spindle motor are needed. The work area of the machine is 420 by 420 millimeters, and freedom units, that's going to be 16.5 inches. The Z-axis height is 90 millimeters, which is 3.5 inches. Actually a pretty large area for a machine, again, down at this low price point. Spindle power comes in at 300 watts, and it's fitted with an ER11 collet. This is going to be the normal power level for a machine at this price point. It can also be fitted with a 52 millimeter diameter spindle motor or the optional laser module for even more machine flexibility. Speed comes in at 2000 millimeters per minute, which is going to be 33 millimeters per second or 78 inches per minute, which is nice for a small machine. But with a 300 watt spindle motor, don't expect to run at those speeds unless using the optional laser module. The build quality, I think this is outstanding and sets this machine apart from the others. The side-to-side motion, or the X-axis, has dual ball bearing rails, which are going to be strong, precise, and long-lasting, and a lead screw to control the movement. It's a special threaded rod with brass nuts, and while I would like to see a ball screw, that would greatly increase the cost of the machine. Lots of other entry-level machines are going to use cheaper belt and pulley assemblies, and those are not as good as a threaded rod system found on the Artisan 01. Front-back motion, or the Y-axis, has dual linear rods. I'm not sure if they're ball bearing, but I'm going to guess that they're not, just to keep the price point low. And just with the X-axis, it has the same type of special threaded rod and brass nut construction. Up-down motion, the Z-axis has dual linear rails with ball bearings just like the X-axis and the same type of special threaded rod. The brains of the machine uses a gerbil controller board, making it compatible with many softwares like Easel and many others. For sending project code to the machine, it's compatible with Candle and UGS software. Assembly took me a little over 32 minutes. I took my time and I'm moving the camera around and lighting. For you, expect this to take under 32 minutes. From here, the machine is ready to power up. The construction on this thing is truly solid. It is all steel, all aluminum, minus the spoiler board, which is going to be wood, of course. The only plastic on this machine is going to be the pendant, and that is actually made of a 3D printed material. That's part of me having a pre-release version, but I do expect on the production version that the pendant case will be plastic. Now, I say this thing is solid, it really is solid, coming in at over 26 kilograms. If you're like me and you're used to pounds, that's going to be a little bit north of 57 pounds. So this thing, while it is relatively small for a CNC router machine, this thing is super built tough. This machine looks really nice, but I want to see what the projects look like coming off of the machine, and that's exactly what I'm going to do next. We're going to jump into the computer and take a look at some projects that I'll be making. While I'd love to take you through step by step on making a full complete project on here, I'm more interested about just showing you the machine, the features, and the projects coming off in this video. In the next video though, I am going to show you how to make a project from the start to finish on this machine. But next up, let's jump into the computer and check out today's projects. The software that I'm going to be using to send my program out to the machine is called Candle. It's very popular and it's included on the USB stick included with the machine. Let's check out today's graphic. Here's the graphic for today's first project. It's the channel logo with a nice circle drawn all the way around it. I designed this in a different program where I programmed in the V-bit that I'm going to be using on the machine, and that creates all of the tool paths needed to create today's project. And by tool paths, I mean when we zoom in, we're going to see all these lines, and that's going to be the actual tip of the tool traveling through the work material. In fact, if I zoom back and we take a look at it from the side and I zoom back in, we're going to see that there's going to be two different levels here, and that represents the two different depths that I'll be cutting to create today's project. All I have left to do is to continue to manually jog the machine using the software with this little control panel off to the side. I'm going to move the spindle head to the start position, which is going to be called the machine 0. Once I have that set up, I can turn the spindle on and we can send the project out to the machine and watch the first project being made. I have the X and Y axes set where I'd like to start, and I can click this button to reset the 0. That'll make it the start point. For the spindle height, I'm going to use a post-it note and very carefully lower the bit down to the material. That just touches, so I'll back it off just a little bit, and I will zero the Z axes out. I'm all set. The last thing I'm going to do is just bump that spindle up just a little bit. And now I'm ready to hit the send button and create the first project. First project's complete and it turned out absolutely perfect. The machine ran flawlessly. And by the way, this first project was made out of 1/2-inch MDF board. I love using this on new projects because the material is easy to find, it's easy to machine, and most of all, it's really inexpensive. The next material is going to be this 3/8 pine board. I wanted to try something that had a wood grain structure to it to see how well the machine would respond to it. Sometimes when I have material with a wood grain structure to it, the bit tooling will sometimes get steered around by the different layers of the wood grain. That happens on machines where the head assembly is really loose and sloppy. On this machine, it seems pretty solid, but I'm going to test it out with this next project and this pine board. Let's jump into the computer and check out the graphic that I'll be using. Back inside Candle, I have the next project loaded in. We're going to check this out. I'll zoom in a little bit, and it looks kind of like a triangular spirograph type thing. And with all these different angles of all the lines crisscrossing across the wood grain of this pine board is going to be the perfect test. Plus, I think it's going to look really neat when it's done. As we can see, I already have my material secured down with the included clamps of the machine. Within the software, I've manually jogged the head of the spindle to the start point. I can now hit this button to zero the X and Y, and I can hit the next button to zero out the Z axes, and I'm going to index the spindle head up just a little bit to clear the material. That looks good, and from here, all I need to do is turn the spindle on and hit the sun button. "38 minutes later and the project is all complete." The second project, it really didn't turn out as well as I had hoped, and that's because I made a whole bunch of mistakes. Starting out with, well, the project shifted way over to one side. I could have said that I did that purposely and left all of this area for the next project, but the reality is I set the zero up in the wrong spot. I think I set it up over here, and in my design, it really should have been down in that corner. The second mistake, and I think this is the biggest thing, and it's where I lost all the detail here due to the wood chipping out, is I selected too soft of a wood for how deep I was cutting. There's a couple ways I could have fixed that. I could have grabbed a larger board, made the project itself much larger. That would have given these little smaller pieces a lot more strength. The other thing I could have done is not cut so deep into the wood. Or lastly, this being soft pine, I mean really soft pine, I could have picked something out with a better wood grain structure that's much stronger, something like a yellow or white birch. When I was recording the second project, I saw right away that I was getting chip out on a lot of that small detail, and for a brief minute, I thought about editing all of that out and restarting the project with a different graphic, but I decided to finish that out and show you that even I make mistakes when I'm making projects on the laser channel, and it's how I learn. That's where I get some of my best learnings. And as I just went through on things I did wrong with this pine board, I can now take what I learned from that, move forward with other projects. The main thing I wanted to learn from this second project was actually a complete success. If you recall, I wanted to see how well the machine would cut across the grain with the included bit with the machine, and that turned out perfectly. We'll get another close-up look, and we're going to see an all three corners, we're going to see that all of the cut lines are nice, smooth, and consistent. They're not jagged or anything like that. Even in some of these really narrow spots here, turned out absolutely perfect. This one's going across the grain, and these two are going kind of with the grain, but in two different angles, and I think that all turned out absolutely perfect. That's going to tell me that this Z-axis structure, all of this is nice and solid, which is exactly what we're looking for in a quality CNC router. Speaking of things that I like about CNC routers, that's going to be the perfect segue of what I think about this machine, starting out with the positives. First of all, with the price point being just under $600 US, this is a perfect way to get into a CNC router machine. This thing is absolutely solid, and after running a couple of projects, this thing is solid and smooth while it's making projects. The work area coming in at that 420 millimeters or 16.5 inches square is a really nice work area, and typically we don't see it down in the sub $600 range. One of the things that I nearly skipped over in this video is the pendant that comes with the machine. It's going to give me a digital readout of the position of the spindle on the X, Y, and Z axes. It's also going to allow me to manually jog the machine around, and I can also run programs locally loaded off of the USB stick that is included with the machine. While there's a lot of things that I like about this machine, I think there's a couple things that you should be aware of. Some of them are just kind of universal to any CNC machines, starting out with the weight. While I like that it weighs a lot, that also means it's not going to be totally portable. This coming in again at over 26 kilos, that's going to be about 57 pounds. So this is something you probably won't want to move any more than you really need to. CNC routers in general, they're just going to be more messy than a laser machine. As we saw when I was running some of the projects, you might have caught in the background, I've got an exhaust hose hooked up to the back to try and pull some of that really fine nuisance dust out of the air. That's not going to be specific to this machine. That's going to be any CNC router that you find on today's market. If you're coming from the laser engraving world, you're going to find that a CNC router is going to make more noise. While this one was pretty quiet, especially with the slightly smaller 300 watt spindle motor, it does make a little bit of noise. I did find, however, I didn't have any rattling sheet metal pieces on the machine. Everything is really tight on it. The most noise came when I did the second project. I only had 2 clamps holding everything together, and there was a little bit of vibration between my project material and the spoiler board. Continuing on, I'm going to go back to the pendant, and while it's got a lot of great information on it, I think that the screen is a little bit small. When I was reading the screen, I did have to put my cheater glasses on to make sure that I read all of the information correctly. The other thing I noticed is the cable comes out of the bottom, and when I put it on the stand the way they intended to, it doesn't really sit correctly. Maybe on the production unit, they'll have the connector coming out of the side. That way it'll sit on the stand correctly. One cool thing I did see is that there's like a built-in magnet, so it sticks to the stand. That's pretty cool. So I guess for now, mine's just gonna go on there sideways. Would you like to know more about the Artisan 01 by WizMaker? Let me know down below by leaving a comment. Now to loop back to the question I had for you at the beginning of the video, why do birds fly in a V? Because it's faster than walking. I admit that's not my best joke, but it's what I came up for in today's video. Now I hope that you'll join me in the next video where I share with you step by step how to create a project for the CNC router and then send that project out to the machine. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to show it some love by giving it a like or subscribing to this channel. Not only is it a great way to help it grow, it's an awesome way to connect video content like this with other great viewers just like you. And until we meet again in the next video, I'm Greg from the Laser Channel, where we learn, create, and share.